I am Maida McNeil, one of the project members and director, we are a collaboration between Honey Pot Performance, our home parent organization, the Modern Dance Music Research and Archiving Foundation, Actively Archiving, and a team of local cultural historians and cultural producers. The map exists to preserve Chicago's Black social culture lineage, past, present, and future, through an experience that is both fun and informative. And I want to quickly say a few words of gratitude for our partners for this event. So thanks to the parks and park staff for hosting us, to HP Skate. So thanks for being our event partners on this and helping to coordinate the skating components that are coming later this afternoon, and helping us to connect further with the skating community as it exists now. So, and then finally, thanks to our CBSCM collective for continuing to support this ongoing initiative. Abra, Joe, Lauren, Skyla, Dwayne, Lady D, Lori, Branch, and Linnea and Jenica. I'm going to talk a little bit about today's program, and then we are going to get into the discussion. So our theme for today is roller rinks. The Chicago Black Social Culture Map really started around wanting to preserve the history of dance music culture and Chicago house music and culture, with all of its complex and layered kind of stories. And we knew that part of that was connected to earlier Black social traditions that informed what would become house. And so part of that is roller rinks. And so today, that is why we're talking about roller rink history and culture and aesthetics and community. So our moderator for today is David Stovall. Dave is a professor in the departments of Black Studies and Criminology, Law and Justice at the University of Illinois at Chicago. His scholarship investigates critical race theory, the relationship between housing and education, and the intersection of race, place, and school. He works with community organizations and schools to address issues of equality, justice, and abolishing the school prison nexus. To Dave's left is Joshua Smith. And Joshua Smith is better known by his skating entertainment name, Batsmoke or Batman, and is part of an elite roller skater, choreographer, performer, trainer, and SAG actor. He's best known for his role in the award-winning documentary United Skates, which can be streamed on HBO Max and Hulu, and which I have taught several times in the class, and the students always love that story. His most recent work was the new Disney production Saturdays, and he was also the skate choreographer and trainer on the Steppenwolf production 1919, which we met through that and also worked on that at the same time. To Josh's left is DJ Khali, and DJ Khali Melon is driven by deep immersive sounds and connecting diverse communities through the sameness of shared movements and rhythms. Beginning their musical artistry in 2021, Khali Melon intends to reverse the melancholy and the culture of suffering by inviting folks to share and embrace a lasting moment of liberation and joy. And then last but not least is Friedel, often known as Free. DJ Free, has been an avid roller skater for the past 45 years, starting out at Arts, which turned into Pinwheel in Harvey, Illinois, but became a serious skater in 1981 in Homewood, and then became interested in DJing for the skate scene. She finally got her opportunity at Glenwood Roller Rink in 2014 and is now the DJ for Tuesday nights at Fleetwood Roller Rink. All right, so with that, we're going to start our first panel that is really focusing on roller skating history in Chicago, and I will give it up to Dave. Thank you.
Peace and greetings, everybody. Thanks again for coming through, and we're going to do this like a broadcast, and thanks again to the panelists for rocking with us today. And I want to thank Honey Pot Performance, the Black Cultural Social Map, for doing this work, because there's so much here in the city that we often forget, and a lot of that history is still living history. So I really wanted to thank everybody for making sure events like this happen. And DJ Free, I want to start with you. What did it feel like when you first saw a person roller skate?
Actually, I started in a rink that's no longer here, that few people they don't know about it. It was called Roller Wheels. It was in Crestwood, Illinois. Mm-hmm. And mm-hmm. I went there, which was mainly Caucasian. Mm. So one day someone asked me to go to Markham, and I went to Markham. It was a whole different ball game because they had what was called a midnight ramble. It went from 12 a.m. to 4 a.m. And when I stepped into that rink at 12 midnight, I fell in love. It was something I had never seen before. The people, the music, it was something that drew me, and I couldn't really skate at the time. But when I got out there, I fell flat on my face. But when I got up, I said, I'm gonna learn to do this. And at that moment is when that seed was planted. And after that, it's been history ever since. Yeah.
Definitely, thank you. And let me just say something and what DJ Free just put us on to. I gotta say these names out loud, right? Screaming Wheels, the Rainbow, the Loop, the Planet, right? You know, you gotta say those names out loud. And, you know, for folks who, you know, I just turned 50 and my students always accuse me of, Doc, you always reminiscing. I'm like, look, we can't drive past these places and not understand what has transpired, right? So when I see, you know, I think about the Rainbow, right? And then the gentrifiers did something real slick. The apartment buildings that replaced the Rainbow were first called Rainbow Village, right? And then they did something slick and changed the name, and then people started doing whatever. And I drive past every now and then on Clark, and I look, I'm like, man, look, and in my head as a Chicagoan, I'm always like, this is how they take this, right? But now a thing like today is really important because this is how it's bringing it back. Josh, I want to go to you in terms of what did it feel like when you first saw a person skate?
I didn't really. I can't really put together what emotion that I personally felt when I saw somebody else skate. All I could think about is what I felt entering the building. It wasn't anybody else that really made me want to do it. It was just what I saw was something that I was missing in life, which is like I saw a sense of community. I saw hard work. I saw determination. I saw fun. I saw acceptance. I saw social acceptance. I saw validation. I saw spirits. I saw energies. And I saw where those energies were coming from and how they were just being whirled around in a circle and how each energy was being passed off from person to person. That was being infiltrated through the music. So it wasn't a specific person, but it definitely helped me realize or grow it within myself to figure out what it is that I needed in my life to continue to grow. So I didn't see a person or anybody when I came in the rink was like, oh, that was cold or that move was cold. I instantly got attached to the energy in the building, the feeling in the building. and what people were putting out in that building. So that's kind of like what got me.
Indeed. Khali, I'm gonna come to you as the DJ. You all are the soul controllers, right? You make folks feel it and move and do things sometimes that they didn't even know that they could do. So now, as somebody who is heavy into making sure that you're responsible to your art while creating spaces for folks to enjoy in a particular way, what does it feel like as a DJ when you see people out there creating, building, loving in a way that they may not experience for that whole time before they get to with you in that moment? What does that feel like?
For me, it feels good. It feels connecting. It feels embracing. It feels good to acknowledge how safe I feel in that moment, how safe everybody else feels. And I think that's integral in really being able to genuinely like enjoy yourself in a moment. Like the safety, the camaraderie, like it's all felt and it's all very connecting.
Indeed. Now I'm gonna go back with you all a little bit now. I come up in the late 70s, early 80s, and I remember the Loop. Now the Loop was right around, the Loop was on 95th. It's now a church, which is a whole nother set of ironies. But around the corner on 91st and Ashland was the first Rink. Now it moved from 91st and Ashland to 87th Street around the corner from where I grew up. And I remember because in day camp, they used to take us to the one on 91st and Ashland. And then when it moved around the corner, I remember the buzz in the neighborhood was, yo, y'all see the Rink? The Rink is around the corner from the crib. It was like, what, over there on Ashland? What? But when the Rink came to 87th Street, and you saw, and I would go past, because I was too young to get into the Midnight Ramble. So they would have parties for young folks before the Midnight Ramble on Saturdays. And that was one of the first places, other than WBMX, that I actually heard house music. And it was always that, because I always think about three places for house music: WBMX, the Rink, and a place called the Jeffrey Inn. If people aren't familiar with the Jeffrey Inn, it's on 71st and Jeffrey, one of the longest running black LGBTQAI clubs in the country. So this thing around seeing that transformation and actually feeling that. So Josh, I'm gonna come to you. There is a move that the homies do, and I still see skaters do, called the gangster walk, right? And I know it from a lot of different spaces, but that move and the way that James Brown changed the way folks skate. When you first got a whiff of JB and saw how people moved for you, how did that change what you did as a skater?
Well, starting off, it definitely was a super huge influence, because when James Brown came out with like 72, 73, and then the style was born, the JB style was born around 75, am I correct, Free? Around 74, 75? Yeah, so that's when his music was pretty prominent, and when it started hitting those rinks. When it came to certain movement, such as the gangster walk, I mean, it started off as steps first, and then it started evolving to what we now know as JB. The gangster walk, it gave the people a sense of inclusion where they can do repetitive steps and synchronized choreography, and the fact that James Brown, the performer, was known for having quick, fast footwork, but our particular style was always slowed down, chopped and screwed, slowed, smooth, laid back. And it gave skaters an opportunity to do things together. So the feeling that you actually get of synchronization, and it's another way for the skaters to connect, because the move itself can be broken into different parts as far as crossing and picking up your leg and putting it in certain positions. But when you put the positions in choreography or in certain orders, and then we establish that as part of the skate culture here in Chicago, because you only get JB here in Chicago, born and raised here. But if you put that specific movement together and you teach the whole community that gives an opportunity for everybody to feel inclusive. So regardless if you're a JB skater from Chicago or if you're studying the art anywhere else, if you link up with a JB skater and they say, we're gonna run the gangster walk, coming off the corner, you come right off the corner and you kind of have a concept of what it is. It gives you a sense of camaraderie. So that was just the biggest draw or takeaway, is that, you know, no matter what level that you are, there are certain parts of our culture that you need to learn in order to feel like included. So you kind of come in and you put in that work to get to that level so you can skate with everybody. And Gangsta Walk was just one of those synchronized choreography movements. So the music itself, most of James Brown music, when it's played in the rinks, if you could correct me if I'm wrong, what are we, about 88 beats per minute? 80? Yeah, about 88 to 101. So it allows people to move fluently without injuring themselves. It allows people to still be laid back and smooth, different things of that nature. So when James Brown plays his music and the DJs alter the tempos to format our movement to his music, because it had such a heavy bass line and such heavy funk, and the horns did something. His music was so influential because you could skate to so many different parts of it. Sometimes people listen to music to different parts. Some people only just listen to music for the drums or just for the bass or just for the bass line. But James Brown was such an innovator that he had horns going and bells and whistles that were also syncopated with the rest of the beat, that you could pick any part of the song and skate to it. You know what I'm saying? So certain parts of the Gangsta Walk, you could skate to the up, the down, the horns, it didn't matter. So that was why we loved James Brown music so much, because it was consistently repetitive. I think he was like the first freestyle artist. You know, yeah, so that's basically what it is.
And DJ Free, when you first go into a midnight ramble, and that transition from first going, I can't imagine going to a roller rink at first and it being all white folks, and then going to a midnight ramble, and what that does to you, right? So when you first hit the midnight ramble and you see folks moving and you hear JB and you see all of this type of space, did you think about, man, when you said when you first fell and you was like, look, I gotta do this, what was the first thing that brought you back? So you've been to the Midnight Ramble, you've seen all the folks get down, and then what brought you back to the rink?
Well, back then it was the groups had, they call them routines today, but we used to call them skate moves, okay? And it was always west side, south side, suburbs. The Southsiders were always known for their smoothness, their synchronization. West Siders, they were spinners, they were crazy leggers, they did a lot of footwork. The suburb people had a little bit of all of that. So they had their crews, they had their groups. And when you walked in there, like on a men only, you would see the groups of men together with their crew, but they were all in sync. It was like they were one. No one was out of place. The synchronicity was like Dancing with the Stars. It was, the footwork was so amazing. The way they moved and flowed together, it was like poetry in motion. It was unreal. I wish I had video today. And the women of that day, there is nothing comparable to the women that used to skate JB back in that day. These women's, the women there then, their big wheels were better than, have you heard about the big wheel? Okay, theirs were better than the men, okay? So when you walked in there, you got so entranced with the groups, the crews, you know, like Josh said, it was like validation. Of course, everybody want to be seen. Of course, everybody wants to be the best. But it was also about feeling like you belong to something greater than you've ever belonged to before. You can hear testimonies from people saying how skating saved their life, literally. You know, they were on the street, they were doing this, they were in gangs. When they got into skating, it changed their entire life. And you can hear that from anyone, including myself. When I started, I was 17 when I really got into it seriously. And so when you get into it like Josh does, people want to teach you. And as you're taught, you learn and you become better and better. So then you want to be in it more and more. So that's what brought me back. Learning, growing. I had the best teachers, the best old school teachers ever that taught me when I started skating. And then from there, you know, most people don't know. Back then, I was in contests. I was doing some of everything because that's how I progressed back then. Yeah.
And Khali, now as a DJ, i.e. soul controller, what are the things that you do as a DJ to create community in that way?
Well, I'm a part of a collective that was brought up in Chicago. It's called Small World Collective, and they intentionally create and curate parties and events that are intended to be safe spaces specifically for queer, black, trans, and non-binary people. So being able to create events that are intentional, that do say like out loud, clear as day, in plain English, that this is a safe space for you. You can feel comfortable here. And then also when I'm not like spinning, when I'm in the spaces that I am spinning at, I do try to engage with the crowd, like personally, let people see my face and know that I'm somebody that they can reach out to. Like, if anything goes awry, if they need support, if they like the music, just personally checking in. It's more than just being on the stage. It's more than just pressing the buttons. It's actually being human with the people that I'm playing the music for.
Indeed. Thank you for that. So here in Chicago, all of you all mentioned community, and there's just a quick story. So like us being out here on the west side, and shout to the Golden Dome. If people who don't know about the Golden Dome, please get the history correct, because man, this has been an important place for black and brown life in the city. And one of the things that I would often see, it started off for me playing basketball, and you developed community across the city, right? So if you played in certain tournaments, folks would see you in the street and be like, oh, that's dude from such and such, or that's dude from such and such. And I remember I was little in the rink, and these GDs came in and was doing a gangster walk. And it was the coldest thing I'd ever seen. I'm like, what is this? And the OGs from our block saw folks doing the gangster walk, and all of my little squad, you know, was a bunch of vice lords and four corner hustlers. And the OGs was like, don't mess with them. They bringing y'all culture. And I was like, oh. Like, and I couldn't have been more than 12, right? So skating was so powerful that people, if you was across set lines, if you was across neighborhood, people knew that was a safe space. And it was like, man, they're gonna get to make sure they get home, right? And that thing around thinking about that community. So Josh, when you think about skating as a community of people, what about it makes it so strong and makes people feel so safe that they can not only just express themselves, but come through pretty much to any spot if you or somebody in the network says come through?
Well, first off, if you don't mind me peeling back a layer, it's generational. So most skaters, there's very few like first generational skaters. They were introduced to skating by somebody older. But a lot of our culture and our community, especially in Chicago, is passed down. One thing that gives such an inclusion is that specifically about our culture and JB here is that our music doesn't just live in the rinks. So when you go to the barbershops, you hear JBs. When you turn on the radio, you hear JBs. When you go anywhere, you hear this music. And by the rink being the safe space or the safe haven, that was the last safe haven. Like sometimes churches aren't even safe in the world. So and it's one of the last places where you can go and be exactly who you are. So regardless of, I mean, there's still heavy gang affiliated members that skate today, but because of all of us are bound by the bloodline of our wheels, that in that space or in that area, it allows us to look at people as humans versus what it is that we represent or who we are, or what it is that we may believe spiritually, or whatever it is, experiences that we want to have. So that sense of community comes with not just through just the skating itself, but every element that goes into the skating, which is, going through the motions of beginning and getting better. So it's not just, coming into the rink, it's that everybody started off trash. Everybody started off with rentals. Everybody started off in the same places. So it gives us a sense of community when new people come in and they might not, be as comfortable. It's a good opportunity for me to reconnect with the people, be like, all right, well, here, now that we've experienced everything that you're going through psychologically, emotionally, physically, we can actually give you the blueprint on how to, cut the line some, versus some of the older skaters that had to learn, the hard way. So as things are progressing, not only in Rinks, and Rinks are expanding, and now every time you look on any social media or any commercial, you see a roller skater, trust me, we know them. We know who they are. They're not random people. From Usher to everybody. I know who trained them. Everybody. I could call them on my phone right now. So that's one thing that kept us all connected. As far as how it used to be, before social media, by the rink being the only place where you can actually go and be social, whether by yourself or with a group of people. Because, clubs, you had to go with friends, or you had to go, if you wanted to go to a concert, you had to go with friends. But the rink was the only place you could go by yourself and have a blast, or go with a group of friends and have a blast. So, people just found the roller skating rink to be, instead of just a place of exercise, camaraderie, and community, it turned out to be therapy for people. And when it starts becoming therapy, everything in it turns out to be therapy as well.
And thank you so much for that. And DJ Free, I want to come back to you around this space, because when I remember going to roller rinks and hearing songs either two ways. One, like I had never heard them before, or completely different songs, right? So there would be JB edits, and I'm like, I was rolling with DJs. I'm like, where is this from, right? And so in that DJ culture, in skating culture, was there a space that you all just kind of shared with each other? Like, okay, go here, get this record, or spin it this way, or make sure you can put it on a 4-track and make your own edit of it. Because to this day, the roller rink is the place where records are broken, right? Like new sounds are heard. So is that specific to roller rinks? Was that something that you all were doing?
We weren't doing it then. I had a conversation with a DJ out of Vegas the other day, and he said, free skate DJs are different. He said, the way they play their music, the way they bring their music is different than any other DJ, a stepping DJ, a club DJ, and it is. I started collecting music back in 1981, albums or vinyl as they call it today. And there were more record shops. There was one specifically right around the corner from the Homewood skate shop called Record Swap, which had everything that we skated to. And then Beverly Records, which is historical on Western Avenue. And we used to go and collect doubles of everything because we knew we needed the doubles, okay? So, but let me just say this. JB music is not just James Brown music. We skated to rock, Led Zeppelin, Billy Squier, different artists, soft rock. We skated to the live bands. It was a live band thing more so than a JB thing, okay? Barcades, Ohio Players, Cameo. The live bands is what got people because the music hit different. It hits different when it's a live band. What transitioned along the way was when remixes came to play, okay? So that's when the remixes started. They started remixing JB music. And that's when the music changed, and that's when we were able to get different edits of different songs where we could, and then we could edit them ourselves. So with the new implementation of Serato or, Virtual DJ and all these programs that we can use, we can edit music ourselves now. We can get something and create our own music, which I do, and re-edit, and so it sounds different, because no DJ wants to sound the same. So you have to create and separate yourself from another DJ by remixing your own stuff, or getting some remixes from someone else. So that makes you sound better.
That was always the most amazing thing around Rolling. Just always just like, man, you don't hear this anyplace else, right? This type of music isn't played any place else, and I promise y'all, it's not us reminiscing, I promise, right? But it's literally the way it's heard, the way it rocks, like the way, and you really are giving us that knowledge around live bands, because like you say, you would hear Ohio Players, Barcades, the Ebonies, all of these.
Oh, absolutely.
You would hear all of these
Roy
folks.
Ayers,
Yeah.
Grover Washington, all those live bands.
Yeah.
And that was, JB music was compiled, not only what James Brown, or we would call them Fred Wesley,
Teach.
and the Horny Horns, because
Teach.
that's what they were called.
Teach.
Okay, Fred Wesley, the JBs, Ohio Players, live bands is what it was for us. It wasn't just James Brown music for us. It was live bands.
Right, because
literally.
that thing, and just the expansion of even the band, the JBs, right? Like you said, Pee Wee Ellis, Fred Wesley,
Yes, sir.
Maceo Parker,
Bootsy.
Yep. So all that, his brother Catfish, all of those folks who really,
Catfish Collins.
yes, man, and who get down, and like the ways in which those sounds play. And it
George Duke.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And I had an uncle who was raised in Alabama, and I would spend the night over his house, and he would wake me up to this JB song called Soul Power 74. And there's a
Can I interject?
Yeah.
Today it's called the Split Song.
It's the split song now.
It's called the Split Song.
It's
It
our
has a
trigger
new
song.
name, okay?
Wait. So yeah,
ahead, Josh.
go. No, free. Go free. 'Cause I'm triggered. Go free. I'm triggered. So even with all this music and live bands, it all came to a halt. Not a halt when Keys O'Kane came on the scene. There's a guy named Keys O'Kane. So Keys O'Kane was a producer. He wasn't a skate DJ, and he was introduced to the skate community by another notable, like our ambassador of our skate community, or our we kind of embrace him as like our ambassador. His name is Darius DeBreeze Stroud. He currently throws the IR party that you could see in United Skates documentary. He's like affectionately our skate ambassador, or the one that we hold a high regard to. So Breeze decides to bring this guy. His name is Keys O'Kane, who we're doing everything that you were saying. It was remixing, taking all of the music and putting different bass lines and tracks over it, and then further inspired some of these other skaters out here who just make beats and started putting different sounds, and then it's evolved into where they just use drops now, and they create completely different sounds with just drops, which is affectionately known as like mashups now. You know what I'm saying? So that was just huge. But the Soul Power 74 is definitely a trigger song for every skater in Chicago, anywhere, and nationally, internationally now, because it spread so much. But as soon as that Soul Power 74 or that actual breakdown when the horns just go by themselves, if you are in the straightaway of the main lane, you might want to just go stand in the middle, because it's about to be flying nutcrackers and slides and all types of people sliding, hitting, jumping over walls, and it just becomes crazy. I don't know. It's like a trigger, but you got to come to an actual session to see it, or a skate party now, because we done got bougie. So, if you come to an actual skate event now, then you see the horns, it's a wrap.
And the thing in my coming up, my uncle used to play it in the morning, and there's a part in the song that he would always look at me and be like, "You hear what he's saying, right?" Because there's a part in it he says, "You don't work, you can't eat," right? And I'm just like, "Oh." He was like, "You hear that Brother Brown?" And he called James Brown Brother Brown. He said, "You hear that Brother Brown telling the truth?" And I was always in my head from the age of like 6 to probably 18. It was always that track playing. You don't work, you can't eat. So, Khali, now with you having these parties, creating these safe spaces, is there anything like that for folks who come to your set? It's just like, look, when this comes on, all things stop and everybody is right here in this moment rocking. Is there something that you have seen to do that?
Like from my own sets or just?
For your own, yep.
I really try to switch it up. Like I try to gauge different reactions from the crowd. Different crowds respond differently to different tracks. So.
But is there one in particular that you've seen folks just as the younger folks so just go hard on?
That I've played?
Yeah.
Basically most Chicago juke tracks. Like most old school Chicago juke tracks, like the early 2000s, like DJ Dion, like Gantman, DJ Rashad, like that era. Like my usual crowd, myself included, like we usually collectively go crazy.
Man, and for folks who may be unfamiliar, I saw DJ Rashad once put on a track. It was like a group of little ones. They probably have been like about fifth, sixth grade. When it came on, I swear to y'all, they came running in the classroom. And all you heard was juke, juke. And then it got loud, juke, juke, juke. I was like, oh, this is what it is. And see, again, people talk about, that's classroom management. Just play the juke track, right? Don't worry about it. If you worry about young folks, it's like, look, we're gonna have a party on Friday. All your discipline is taken care of for the week. Cause now you playing that juke track, they know what it is and they go so hard for it. But I had seen, juke coming up. I remember from the early days of even calling it hip house. Ooh, such a bad name. But this thing around seeing people move in that way, right? The community that's created in that way. And now this thing around Chicago, from the Chicago Skate Company. So your majority of roller skates for the first half of the 20th century were made right here, right? Along with bikes like Schwinn that also were made here to move across the country and the world, actually. So Josh is somebody who has now traveled the world, seen all these different styles. What about Chicago is unique in skate culture?
Oh, because we're the Hawaii of the United States. We are a everyone's welcome but nobody's invited community. Because we can tell based on even if you go to sessions now, you could tell just the overall vibe of the entire rink is putting in work. Like I'm drilling, I'm working, I'm practicing, whatever it is. We're having a blast while doing it. We're getting something out of it. We're releasing whatever the world had for us outside, but we're releasing it through our practice, releasing it through our training and drilling. And I know for us as a community, we pride ourselves on making everybody around us cold. There's not too many basic level skaters that actually skate with us at sessions. I'm gonna be biased, but if you take a skater, a Chicago skater, anywhere else in any other city, we're gonna stand out like a sore thumb. Not just because of what it is that we do and how we move, but the level of skill, not so much as the individual skater, but as us as a city. When we leave to go to another city as a whole, we're dramatically at a different skill level than everybody else in that other city because we're so much more inclusive. We are generationally segregated, not by age, but by style and etiquette. You could be any age and skate a different style. Like Chicago has, I think, 3 or 4 different styles in the JB umbrella. You got your OGs, which come from like an artistic background, which is like your ice skating, figure skating, which is long, elegant movement, really really disciplined movement, really disciplined body language, and those are old artistic skaters that listen to the soulful music, so now they got to bounce, but they have the discipline of having like a figure skater. Then you have your old school skaters, which is all about your groups and your crews. That's another thing, Free. All the crews back in the day, they came in uniform. That was that sense of belonging. Everybody had a shirt or a jacket or something that signified that they were in that crew. So all the old school skaters, or the old school, which were, heavy on the crews, heavy on the synchronized choreography. They were strong skaters as individuals, but they were unstoppable when they were together. So it was crazy watching two rows of 10 guys doing the same thing, or two rows, or one row of guys, one row of girls doing the same thing, fully syncopated, and the whole line from back corner to front corner was just that crew. So that old school, they were really built on in the crews era. Then when you get to middle school, which is mine, I'm the last of the old, beginning of the new, which we really started breaking off as individuals and focusing on footwork and showmanship and entertainment. And then you got the new school, which is, heavy on threading the needle and being at the edge of your seats. And it looked like I'm about to break something, but I didn't, but it's controlled chaos. So we're generationally segregated by style and etiquette, not necessarily by age. And fortunately, by working through our private owned rink owners and us as a community organizing, we were able to go from each rink and make sure that they don't have the same age demographic play at the same night at the same time. So you won't have two separate rinks hosting 18 and up nights. So if one rink has the 18 and up crowd or the 21 and up crowd, if the other rink had to be open, they would host like the 35 and up crowd. So people got to pick and choose what energy they decided they wanted to be in. Since I'm middle school, I'm free to move around, but new school tendency doesn't really want to move with the old school. Old school doesn't want to move with the new school unless it's an event. Then we'll all come together underneath one roof. That's one thing that sets us apart. We all, in order to be part of this community, you have to learn what we say is our foundation, which is your gangster walks, or your combination, so to speak, your gangster walks, your Godfathers, your big wheels, your low shuffles, your different things of that nature, depending on the groups that you skate with. So us as individually, us as a city, everybody has at least 5 or 6 routines we all know together. Other cities don't have that. They may have particular styles that they can practice, but they don't do it all individually together. There's not something that they can all come together and do at the same time, So like if you went to DC, they got a style called snapping. Everybody can't snap at the same time. It's either the person that's in the front and they have their ankle, or they have their own lines. Jamming technique, Bill Butler from New York, the guy that choreographed roll bouts, he has a technique of roller skating that can be skated to any genre of music. Also, JB is only best done when it's done to JB music. I mean, you can JB style skate to anything, but it's best done to our genre of music. So,
And then Free, in terms of, and thank you for that, Johnson, and Free, in terms of, you talked about how when you first saw women skating and how they were hitting better big wheels than the dudes and stuff was so crisp. Were there any women when you started out and just continued on into where you are now who were influential for you in terms of seeing skate?
The one thing I've learned in this game is that the men's longevity is much greater than the women. Women will leave and they'll come back eventually. However, the women that have stayed in the game, like I can say over the past 40-something years, I've only stopped for a period of 2 years. That's it. Some people have gone for 25 years and they come back. I've recently seen an insurgence of people who were there at that time, who are now back on Sundays because it's, considered an old school JB night. So Sunday nights at Glenwood is considered old school JB, where the OGs come out, and they come out. So there are a couple of people, and I'm gonna mention her. I had a couple of idols when I first started, and I was gonna be them, okay? At all costs, I was going to be them. I was going to big wheel like them. I was going to be them. And one of those people is Sherry Dumas, okay? Her daughter, Jasmine, like he said, it's generational. So a lot of the new schoolers you see now, their parents, their grandparents were skaters. They were roller skaters. And it's been passed down, just like that little one right there is going to be on wheels when he comes out, he or she. So it's a generational thing that you pass down. Your kids may not pick it up. Like my daughter didn't pick it up until she was in her teens, but I wanted her to start earlier, but she wasn't into it, so I had to wait. But at the same time, your kids, if you're a skater, your kids will eventually pick it up. So Sherry Dumas, let me just say this, was my idol. And then I had another one, her name was Patty Cephas, and she's related to some of the OG skaters, Kiki. Many people don't know Casper the Cha-Cha Slide. He was a skater back in the day before anything. So he was a skater and a stepper to the 10th power, okay? So their family members, all of their family members are skaters. Patty Cephas, Sherry Dumas were my idols. And when I say that with all due respect to these two women, because I watched them and I wanted to emulate and be them. It's admiration and inspiration, not jealousy or envy. There's a difference. You can admire a skater or you can envy a skater. Know the difference between the two, and I'm gonna say that because when envy creeps in, then you're a hater, okay?
Teach.
So I'm teaching this because many people, admire them and be inspired by them. Let them inspire you, but don't envy them because you can be better or just as good as them if you put the work in. And Josh knows this. I've watched him from, he was a little bitty thing, a little bitty guy. And he used to do all these things and turns and get on the floor and I used to be like, this guy is gonna be something. I've watched him grow into who he is today. So never envy a skater because what they do, you can do. Sherry Dumas had the coldest big wheel better than any male I know of that era. And if anybody wants to refute that, they can see me. Okay, and she knows this. And this day, she can still get down there. Okay, you can see her at any old school JB party, skate party. She can still get down there. So Sherry Dumas, I love you, girl.
Indeed. Now, Khali, in terms of somebody who's come into, again, party rocking, and we talked a little bit about this before the panel, when you get into party rocking and soul controlling, and I use those terms for DJs because that's the emulation. So we and folks in my generation, there was a guy named Ron Hardy who would do stuff. To this day, I still don't know what Ron Hardy did to my body, right? Like, for real, right? And there is a way that he spun, and when you would hear him, you knew he was always going to bring something live to the set. Are there DJs for yourself who are inspirational like that, when you know, when you see them, like, yeah, they coming to rock?
Well, I know I was, I'm not old enough to have seen Ron Hardy live, but a lot of his archive.
For your generation, yeah.
Well, yeah, a lot of his archive stuff is very inspirational to me, but within my own lifetime, specifically, there's a DJ from Louisiana who pretty much got their roots up here, DJ Tess, and they did a lot of mixes with a lot of like soul. Like, they had a nice, neat, open format selection that was mostly based on like house and soul, and those were like my first times like going into like Chicago nightlife and hearing like good, like rich sounding, like intentional like soul music, and seeing like the crowd like move and connect to it. So also Dwayne Powell. Dwayne Powell has been very integral in like me being able to sit right here and like assert myself and communicate how I communicate my relationship with the crowd. I mean,
Indeed.
So.
Indeed. Yeah, shout to Dwayne, because actually, and let me give you your flowers, Khali, because actually on a panel earlier this year, he shouted you out in terms of saying some folks around, like, you need to pay attention to them because they doing it right. So shout to Wayne for actually saying your name out loud in person in front of folks.
We'll be spinning together next Friday for a skate party, ironically.
Oh, fresh. Okay, definitely. They, I just want to check on time because I know we got a couple other things happening, but okay, cool. Well, let's stop there and let's open it up to the audience if folks have questions. I don't know if this mic can reach y'all, but if it cannot, if you ask a question, I can repeat it here so we can get it on the recording, and then we can engage our panelists if folks have any questions or what have you. Mm-hmm.
I don't particularly have a question. I'm an old school athlete and a dancer. I dance salsa, I dance tango. I know there's divisions in those communities as well. But I just want to thank everybody and tell you that my daughter is Michelle Bat. My daughter is Michelle, and she goes, yeah, that's, can you see? Can you see? And during the pandemic, she approached me. It was getting close to her birthday. And she said to me, Mama, I want to buy these skates. You know, I want to buy them from this woman-owned company named Moxie. They're a lot of money, blah, blah, blah. I said, look, you live in your mama's house, buy the damn skates. If you don't buy the skates, I'm gonna buy them for you, but buy the skates. And Mimi is a very sort of insular, focused person. She's an artist. You know, that's her spirit, that's her soul. And I just want you to know that it has really lifted her life. You know, I'm an old school weightlifter. I still lift. You know, I'm almost 68 years old. So she knows how to do all of that. You know, she experimented with all of those things. But she's also a salsera. She likes to dance salsa too, you know, and everything else. And I just want to tell you that spiritually and emotionally, this has just, you know, made her heart sing. So I just want to thank you all for that. That's all.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that so much. I think one of the greatest things about being a part of this community is that you get to see people grow spiritually. You get to see their energy when they enter the building, and then through our, you know, welcoming spirits and the welcoming atmosphere, and then, you know, slowly you start, you know, first you come in as a random or obstacle. You know, first you come in as a random obstacle, and, you know, we see the sweet fellow, hey, what's going on? And then, you know, some people are bold and they'll come and ask, what does this mean? What does that mean? You know, people that come in are hungry for the knowledge. But then you get to see people gradually grow spiritually with you, and then now all of a sudden they're no longer randoms. Now there's like, oh, what's up, skater? Then when you see them outside, hey, skater, what's up? Then they start turning into, hey, sis, hey, bro, what's up, fam? What's up, skate fam? Then, believe it or not, these communities of people, you know, if you were to get a flat tire and a skater sees you, they'll be more likely to help you than a random person. It's gotten to the point where, however in depth you want to make this world, it can be. Sometimes this family, just like any other family, winds up being closer than your other family. Now it gets to the point where anytime I travel somewhere, like I can't, they won't let me rent a car, or they won't let me stay in a hotel. And it's vice versa, where I've hosted people coming from other countries. You know, you know what, it's Chicago, it is, regardless. But, you know, instead of staying in a hostel, is that what it's called, hostel? Yeah, instead of staying in a hostel or whatever, you know, come, we have space for you, you know, and then vice versa when we travel. So it's just a close net. I don't know you. I don't know these people. I've had people come from London, Switzerland, and, you know, stay weeks at our home, just because of the connection that we've had. So it's definitely a lot deeper than just coming in. Because if you look at it, if we put it into perspective, you paid $10 to make a left all night, and hope the DJ's in a good enough mood that can read the crowd and saying, hey, we want this, or whatever the case is. We literally pay $10 to make a left all night, and we do it 3-4 times a week.
Teach.
So it's got to be something in there, in that building, in that room, in that space, that will continuously have us coming back to do it all over again. and then, and based on your hunger and your love for it, you change your atmosphere, you change the venue, you change the state, you change the pressure you put on yourself when you put in there. If it's regular session or you go to a skate party, it's a different pressure at a skate party, yeah. From that to competition.
Real quick, when she was talking about physical exercise, not many people know the physical components of roller skating, okay, the cardio. Once you get into roller skating, when I got into it, I think I dropped like 30 pounds or something like that when I first started. But I can tell you that maintaining a weight loss or keeping up your cardio effortlessly, that's it, is roller skating. Once you get into it, it's cardio like no other. You can burn calories, you can go eat a taco, do whatever. This physical aspect of it is the greatest exercise ever. I just want to say that, and Josh knows that very well.
We about to go into the deep realm now. Because not only, it's definitely physical, but your confidence level, your self-confidence, you learn so, all right, can I be vulnerable? Am I allowed to, honey? Vulnerable? Father didn't come till late in my life. Mother raised me. She was a double amputee. My mother and my father have yet to see me skate live since today. They have never seen me skate live. They've never seen me skate live. So the biggest thing I've always dealt with as a young black man growing up was having somebody say, I'm proud of you, or to feel validated. And because the rink is the ultimate source of validation. And at first, when I was younger, trying to figure out, if I get good, then people will look at, oh man, that was cold, good job. And I could leave with a sense of accomplishment or whatever the case is, not knowing I'm literally building myself from the inside out by the community literally mirroring the energy that I'm putting out. So it started from where and I've gone to dark places where when I wasn't receiving the validation from the community, when I started doing things to the same thing you see on now, people put out videos for likes on social media, or they putting out skate content for social media, different things of that nature. We all do it. But, I've learned so much about myself. If you ever have children, or if you ever decide you want to have children, get them into the skate rink environment as soon as possible, because it'll teach you, it's literally the world in one building. If you want to learn about relationships, if you want to learn about gossip, if you want to learn about health, if you want to network, we got everything in the book in there. If you want to learn how to, tie a tie, get a job, there's firefighters in there, police, everybody that works every job, weightlifters. Oh man, I'm trying to get in shape. Oh, I know she's a professional weightlifter. Let me go over here. And that's how you, networking, business, etiquette, respect, hard work, because nobody can skate in your skates for you. You're the only one that can do it. It's really up to you about how much you want to put in, but that self-confidence and that consistent building, you'll go for it. Oh, hold on, we about to get deep, Dan.
Josh touched on something very important within this community of skaters. Some of us are mentors for a lot of people. Like you said, both spiritually, naturally, whatever. We pass down wisdom, not only wisdom on how to skate, but how to be as a person. And the one thing I've always told the up-and-coming DJs and the up-and-coming skaters is stay humble, okay? No matter how great you become, arrogancy and humility are opposite. You can be the greatest skater or greatest DJ ever. However, without humility, to me, you're nothing, okay? So that was my thing for the young people. Stay humble. Always stay in a place of humility so that other people can look up to that character and that integrity and want to emulate that.
Khali, indeed. Khali, can you tell us where that spot is that you and Brother Paolo rocking in the next little bit?
Next Friday, we will be at the Chicago Athletic Hotel, 12 South Michigan. Skate party starts at 6, and then at 9 p.m., it'll be a dance party. I'm DJing with DJ Dapper and Dwayne Powell.
Indeed. Well, everybody, please join me in thanking our panelists this afternoon, and to the Honey Pot Performance and Chicago Black Culture Social Map. Really appreciate it. And thank y'all again. And please enjoy yourself today. I apologize that I'm missing the chunk, but I really, really, really am thankful for being part of this. So thank y'all again.